July 6th, 2012, Friday. Jonas Alexandros Varakis had just started flying over the Mediterranean Sea with his two older brothers, wearing shorts, t-shirt, and sandals. They quickly gained altitude as they left the island of Crete. Without using any kind of navigation computer or GPS, they needed to be able to see where they were going. Jonas, his father, mother, brothers, and sisters were all able to fly at great speeds. Jonas, being one of the younger family members, was drilled constantly on how to check where he was going, looking for aircraft, how to estimate his altitude, avoiding altitudes checked by radar, and not being seen on takeoff or landing. Some kids with superpowers thought of it as a burden or a cross to bear, but Jonas thought it was the greatest thing that could ever happen to anyone, and he loved every minute of it. Jonas' family was special, and everyone in it had some degree of the same superpowers: invulnerability, speed, strength, endurance, flight, enhanced senses, and long life. The Varakis family were fighters and had served as soldiers in countless wars through the centuries. Many of them were casualties of the Coalition's war. Jonas knew one day he would be one of the heroes of the family, but today he was 13 and Greece was playing Italy and Rome. Jonas' older brother surprised him that morning with football tickets, and his excitement showed in his smile. He remembered what his father once said: "Football is not a matter of life and death. It's more important than that." As they descended on Rome, he followed the lead of Achilles, his oldest brother. Achilles graduated from one of the 3 beta academies as a team leader a few years ago and was in charge of the team in Athens. He was dressed like Jonas, but carried a backpack. Jonas knew he must have his superhero kit in it. It was nice to have his brothers take him somewhere for the day. Achilles had landed in populated areas so often he knew how to come down fast, change angles to fly over the rooftops, stop quickly, drop into a quiet alley, and walk out as if leaving a shop from the back door. Jonas wasn't allowed to do this alone, though. It could cause unwanted attention if done wrong. Jonas watched as his other older brother Ajax stared at girls that walked by on the way to the stadium. He thought it was a complete waste of time. He knew Ajax would only be allowed to marry someone his parents approved of, and there was no dating. The Varakis family could be considered old-fashioned. Jonas also knew that none of his brothers or sisters would do anything against his parents. They were, after all, the best parents in the world, according to Jonas. The crowd in the stadium was made up of mostly Italians, but somehow his brother managed to get tickets in a section filled with fellow Greeks. Jonas thought this was kind of cool to be surrounded by people from his own country. "Achilles, how did you get tickets in this section filled with Greeks?" Jonas asked. "Being team leader in Athens has a few advantages," he joked. "Really, Papa got them from someone who buys blocks of tickets for away games whenever we play. Papa has more favors owed to him than anyone I know." The Greek team and the Italian team were both on top of their game. The score was tied, and it looked like it could go either way. Jonas wished he could have played sports like this, but he remembered all the times his father lectured him about hurting someone weaker than himself out of selfish desire. Jonas did, however, have 2 older super brothers, 2 older and 2 younger sisters to play with growing up. It must be awful to be an only child, Jonas thought. The crowd suddenly stopped cheering. The captain of the Italian team seemed to have tweaked his knee and was walking kind of funny off the field. The Greeks all around Jonas cheered as he left the field. He started to cheer too, until Achilles shot him a look like he just said something bad about Mama. Jonas was instantly silent. "Do we revel in others' downfall?" Achilles said harshly. "No," said Jonas. "Do we want to achieve victory?" "No, I get it. I'm sorry I cheered." "Hey, lighten up on him today," said Ajax. "Why, what's today?" said Jonas. "Today is the day we defeat Italy, with honor," Achilles said as he pointed at the field. Jonas figured something was up, but he knew people in his family could really keep secrets. Jonas also knew Ajax was not as good as keeping his mouth shut as Achilles. "Is something going on?" Jonas asked Ajax. Over listening, Achilles said, "Nothing is going on. Watch the game, it's almost over." The game ended with Greece making the deciding goal in the last few minutes. The Greek section went wild. Jonas thought it was one of the best games he had ever been to. After the game was over, Achilles asked, "What do you guys say to lunch? My treat." Both brothers quickly agreed. The 3 boys walked for a few minutes from the stadium and found a little outdoor restaurant. The waitress asked them if a table without an umbrella would be all right in the bright summer sun. Ajax told her that would be fine. After all, None of the boys ever had sunburn. During lunch, Jonas regarded his two brothers. One brother, A.K.A, attended a Heroes Union Beta Academy and was heading up an organized team. The other brother, A.K.A, was following in his father's footsteps as a farmer and secret protector of the island of Crete. Jonas considered both of his brothers noble and strong. He wondered which would be happier: attend church more, watch more TV, read more comic books, raise a family, and be more proud of their lives. But these were kind of big questions to be thinking about at lunch, so he turned to his food and dug in. After lunch, A.K.A asked, "How would you like to go for a swim on the way back?" "Where?" asked Jonas. "I know a spot in the south of France with white beaches," Ajax tried to say. "No, not girl watching. Swimming. I know a great fishing site on the way back just east of Sicily," A.K.A said. "What about swimsuits and nets? I don't want to get my clothes wet," said Jonas. A.K.A patted his backpack and said, "Not a problem." With that, they started to find their way to a quiet alley. Once airborne, A.K.A and Ajax really picked up the speed, but Jonas kept up with them easily. Jonas was already one of the fastest flyers in his family. The boys descended down to the water. A.K.A pulled out a small device about the size of a sandwich, and upon activation, it inflated into a small silver raft for one. Jonas knew the Heroes Union guys had the best gadgets. From his backpack, he pulled out a swimsuit for each of them. Once they had changed and their dry clothes were in the raft, a net on a rope was tied to the raft. The net would be where the caught fish would be stored. "Who gets the shellfish?" Ajax said. "You bring it up, you get it," Jonas said. "I agree. You're on shellfish patrol," A.K.A said to him. They all knew fishing for shellfish was not as fun as their type of fishing. Jonas put his head under the water and let his eyes adjust. In a few seconds, it was like he was wearing a diving mask and had better than normal human vision. He then flew under the water. It was a great feeling. Jonas loved doing this off the shore of Crete on a Saturday and would sometimes stay underwater for half the day. Jonas could hold his breath for hours at a time, maybe more if he tried. And fishing was a great excuse to spend time under the sea. Ajax would just be floating at the bottom looking for shellfish. After about a half an hour, Jonas had caught and returned to the net 8 large fish. Another 6 fish and dozens of oysters of all varieties were in the bag. Just then, he felt his swimming trunks get yanked down off his legs. "Hey!" the bubbles leaving Jonas's mouth screamed. Jonas turned to see Ajax gliding away underwater quickly. Jonas went after him at a much greater speed and grabbed him by the ankle. Jonas wanted the swimming trunks back without getting them ripped, so he grabbed Ajax in the tender spots at the bottom of his thigh and squeezed hard. Ajax grimaced and quickly handed the trunks back. When Jonas squeezed, it hurt Ajax. Of all the members of his family, Jonas was quickly becoming the strongest. He was also the toughest, and he knew it. A.K.A, however, was the smartest, and had his clothes on and was waiting for his other 2 brothers to get done playing around. Jonas and Ajax saw their older brother waiting for them. "You 2 are last. You 2 carry the fish and raft. See you at home," he said as he flew away. Jonas and Ajax did as they were taught. They flew back to a wooden patch on their family's property and walked about 10 minutes back to the main house. When the 2 brothers arrived back at the house, there were over 300 people waiting for them. Jonas recognized all of his relatives, siblings, aunts, uncles, great-aunts, great-uncles, grandparents, great-grandparents, cousins, second cousins, and all manner of those related by marriage. Jonas' parents came forward, and Ajax led Jonas right up to them. Mother and father hugged their son and looked back to the crowd. "Everyone, as you know, the Farakis family has had its share of heroes. Here on this island, our line can be traced back to those who sailed on Troy," said Papa. Jonas wondered what could possibly be happening. He looked at his mother, who had tears in her eyes. Seeing his mother this way made his eyes start to well up too. He didn't understand what was going on. "The greatness in our family is now being recognized, and I couldn't be a happier man," Jonas' father said as he handed his son an envelope. Jonas opened it with quick fingers and read. A smile spread across his face as he looked to his brothers and sisters, all smiling back at him. "I'm going to Alpha!" Jonas said in a super loud voice as he raised his hands in the air in victory.